Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for joining. This first initiative, first session of CII Western Region Subcommittee on Startups, Mr. Sunil Chodia, Chairman CII Western Region and Chairman and Managing Director Raj Ratan, Global Wire. And we have our guest for this evening program, Sagar Daryani. Before we kick off, as whenever we start good things, new initiatives in Western Region, and this year we'll always request Sunil to say a few words. So over to you, Sunil. Your views on this startup event which we are doing.
Yeah. Thank you, Ninad, for inviting me to talk today. Okay, I'll just so formally start. Mr. Ninad Karpe, Chairman, CII Western Region, Subcommittee on Startup and Partner 100x.vc. Mr. Sagar Daryani, co-founder and CEO, Wow Momo Foods Private Limited. My friends from media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. It is indeed very nice to see all of you join here virtually to attend the first edition of Startup Buzz, Journey of a Startup Founder, Travels and Trumps, an initiative by CII Western Region Subcommittee on Startups. It also reminds me of my days, maybe 25, 30 years back, when we, people like Ninad, the generation who is also attending, it reminds me of our days, our startup days. Okay, of course, things were very different, but the excitement, the emotional connect, the emotional issues, the problems we faced, the problems we came out of must be similar. So on 15th August 2015, as part of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's Independence Day speech from the Red Fort, a new vision for Indian economy was announced and was later inaugurated on 16 January 2016. Through this initiative, Startup India, the government plans to empower budding startup ventures to boost entrepreneurship, economic growth, and employment opportunities across India. A visionary step that aimed to tap the potential of Indian people, this vision enabled the talented Indians to dream of innovative ideas, put them into action plans, and convert them into real-time game-changing ventures. Being an important stakeholder in charting the nation's growth story, the Indian industry has an onus to harness various opportunities for gaining the topmost position in China Plus One ecosystem. To attain this objective, it is imperative for Indian industry to partner with the government and be part of various development-oriented initiatives, such as Startup India and Make in India. Such initiatives are expected to give impetus to the Indian industry. Today, the Indian startup ecosystem is home to nearly 61,000 startups who are at the forefront of internet revolution in India. From e-commerce to electric vehicles, Indian startups are also the torch bearers for innovation in the country. In terms of entrepreneurship and business, India has evolved into one of the topmost emerging countries in the world. Hundreds of startup companies have been founded there in the last few years, many of which are enjoying incredible success. Maharashtra alone has highest number of recognized startups in India. Significantly, 45% of the startups are from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and 45% of them are represented by women entrepreneurships. The startups in the country have generated around 6 lakhs jobs since 2016. The Indian startup have raised an estimated 42 billion US dollar in 2021, up from 11.5 billion USD in previous year. India witnessed 46 unicorns in 2021 alone, more than doubling the total number of unicorns to 90. I feel proud to say that India with 90 unicorns is the third largest unicorn hub after US and China, where they have 487 and 301 unicorns respectively, and ahead of UK with 39 unicorns. We are gradually transitioning from the age of unicorns to the age of decacorns. A decacorn is a company that has attained a valuation of more than US dollar 10 billion. As of May 2022, 47 companies world over have achieved the decacorn status. India has 4 startups, namely Flipkart, Byju's, Nykaa, and Swiggy, added in the decacorn list, according to Invest India. I must thank and congratulate my friend, my senior in the CII, Mr. Ninad Karpe, Chairman, CII Western Region Subcommittee on Startups, and the CII Western Region Secretariat for organizing today's session. I also thank Mr. Sagar Daryani, co-founder and CEO, Wow Momo Foods Private Limited, for joining us today to share his entrepreneurial journey and startup success story. And we eagerly look forward to this interaction. Friends, I extend my warm welcome to all of you present here and virtually, and offer my best wishes to fruitful interactions today. Thank you, everyone. And now I hand it over to Mr. Ninad to take it forward. Thank you, Ninad.
Thank you, Sunil, for those words of wisdom and knowledge. And you brought forth some interesting statistics, which sometimes we do not pay attention to. But thank you for being here. This is our first event of this year under a new committee, and we are delighted you found time to be with us today.
Yeah, so, sure. It was my pleasure, and all the best for the year ahead. And I wish you many more good programs like this.
Thank you, Sunil. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. So now over to Sagar. What can I say? Wow is the only word which comes to my mind when I read his profile. And if I read his profile in detail, you'll also say the same thing. But I will pick and choose. Like whenever I go to his store, I pick and choose the momos I like. I don't eat all. I wish I had the appetite to eat all. They are really tasty. But yes, wow, it is. Who would have thought that a 21-year-old boy sitting in Calcutta with 30,000 rupees in his pocket can build one of the largest chains in India, soon to become a unicorn, and hopefully soon we will see a IPO. That's in front of you on your screen. That's Sagar. Wow is the only thing I can say. He has raised multiple rounds of funds. He chased a dream which many startup founders have. And if you want any inspiration today, next 30 minutes, Sagar will give you, hopefully inspire you, tell you about his journey, travails and triumphs. You always hear about triumphs, mostly in the paper of startup founders. I'm going to rip him apart a little bit and ask about a little bit about his travails as well, and get him to share some of the interesting facets of his journey so far. I would like to believe this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning for Sagar as he unleashes his true potential onto the Indian market. So Sagar, before I start, of course, I want to start straight by asking you, how did it start? How did you think of Momo? There are so many things to think of. Indian cuisine has so many items. Momo of everything. How do you think of that? Let's get going with that first.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you, Ninad sir. Thank you for the CII Western Region for having me here. Thank you, Sunil sir. Basically, I was 21 years old. I was in third year of college, and unlike many of you here, I was pathetic with maths and numbers. So in India, to crack an MBA, you have to be good with maths because you have to bell the cat, which was not possible for me. Although I was doing my BCom honors in St. Xavier's, Calcutta, I was really not a numbers guy, and since childhood, I always had this aspiration of building my own brand. I mean, I come from a business family. My dad is in the garments business. So at a very young age, when I was 5 years old, I started going to his retail shop. And at a very young age, by God's grace, I learned how to sell a trouser to a guy who comes to buy a shirt. So I learned my selling skills there. And, right from there, I think my textbooks would be full of logos of an Adidas, Reebok, Nike. And I always had this aspiration of, having my own brand someday. Third year of college, could not do an MBA, was not good with accounts. All my friends were doing CA, CS. And somewhere or the other, I didn't want to be in that rat race. I aspired to build my own brand. And since, we're having a very candid chat here, I think that was one phase of my life where I also went through a lot of depression. I went through, I was in a relationship. I had a breakup. I went through depression. I saw the lows of life. I realized that, my mental health was not in the right place. And then somewhere an inner voice came in that, I'm wasting my life. I need to do something productive. Whatever energies I have, emotions I have, I need to channelize that to, somewhere bigger, better. So, in India, food is something that goes by the word of mouth. Today, if you like it, you go and tell your friends, they go and tell their friends. You don't really need to have press ads and hoardings to build a brand out of food. So somewhere I felt that, food was my calling to build a brand because I felt the word of mouth could spread. You don't really need to invest in marketing. Your stores, your product itself becomes your marketing tool. Why Momos? So my friend Vinod is a Nepalese, my co-founder, and we would do late night studies, and हमारे को रात को भूख लगती थी, तो we would make Maggie, we would make pasta, and then Vinod would make momos. And there was this lady in my school, we would call her Momo auntie. She would make amazing momos. I would buy one plate of 5 pieces. I would just get one piece to eat. My friends would gobble the rest. So that gave me confidence that good quality momos can sell. So I was like, if Domino's can play with pizzas, if McDonald's can play with burgers, why can't we play with momos? Because Momo is unorganized. There is no organized player. It will be a virgin market, virgin territory. And I think that's how the idea came in. How do you start with rupees 30,000? I think it's very simple. In India, if you have to do a startup, you have to know how to do your jugaad. So we did our jugaad. We did a shop and shop format. So we tied up with the Spencer's RPG group, where, I did not have to bother about the ceiling, the flooring cost, the shop cost. It was a small flex kiosk of 36 square feet, 6 feet by 6 feet. I would wear the Wow Momo t-shirt. I would cut one Momo into 2 parts because I never even had money to print leaflets, but I would cut one Momo into 2 parts and walk up to every customer with a tray in my hand. And I would say, hi sir, hi ma'am, please taste one product and see. हमारे product में belief था. We knew कि कोई एक बार हमारा Momo खाएगा, they'll become ours forever. So I think a good product and a good audience for that product really goes a long way in making that brand. I think we were always product conscious. If it was the chicken Momo, it would be full of chicken. It would not have onions. But if it was the veg Momo, it would have cabbage, carrot, beans, not just cabbage. So I think we really focused on what goes inside the product to, get the product output. And my home kitchen was my base kitchen. I had a part-time chef, who would, take 3,000 rupees in those days and come and make momos early in the morning. I would take my bicycle at 5:30 in the morning, go and buy vegetables, buy the raw materials. Today, that same chef, he draws a fat 5-figure salary. His daughter goes to the best English medium school in Calcutta. He has a 4-wheeler to himself. He has a house. So, you need to share well to make wealth. I think with Vinod and me starting and one part-time chef today, we are a strong team of 4,000 plus people. So yeah, I think by God's grace, couldn't have asked for a better start. Literally, it's been a journey, anything lesser, and really feel fortunate. I personally feel life of an entrepreneur is blessed. You are there to create. There are days when you are so happy that you don't feel like sleeping. And then there are days when you are so frustrated, you are so depressed, you feel like giving up. You literally cry down to sleep and you don't feel like sleeping. So basically you don't sleep, and your dreams should be so big that they don't allow you to sleep. So that's my message to all entrepreneurs out there that, I think we are blessed. God has given us the power to, be change makers, be creators, and really grateful to God for what we've been able to achieve.
That's fantastic. Dreams should be so big you should not be able to sleep. Sagar, this is a tweetable quote. Huh? I'm going to quote and I'm going to put your name. Sagar has quoted. I want to push you on one point. It's all fine when you are one person, one outlet, good product. How do you control quality of 450? 450 is not a small number. And, I'm sure we'll keep meeting, but let's say 3 years down the line, it's probably going to be what, 1,500? So when you say good product, good audience, these are two things. How do you do that?
I think we're a people's business. So first thing first, you need to transmit your passion into your team. Your people need to grow with you. You need to share well to make well. Like I said, if you're a growing company, you can't clap with one hand. So everyone's growth is in their hands. If they grow, company grows, they grow. So I think we are a very people-friendly, dependent company. By God's grace, in COVID, we saw our worst in COVID. I'd never seen losses for 12 years because I began this business by plowing back profits. For the first 6.5 years, I had no funding. It was my customer who was my biggest investor. I just went on plowing back profits, reached a 20 crore top line, reached 43 stores. COVID was the first time in my life where I saw losses for the first time. And it was scary, but then I felt that, if I could start from scratch, from zero and get to somewhere, I'm sure losses are there, we'll overcome it, right? And somewhere I feel that, it's very important as a leader to be very transparent with your team. So I think we did do pay cuts during COVID for 6 months. We did not do job cuts. Everyone had to bear the larger pain for the larger gain of the organization. But I think we were very transparent with our team. We assured them that, nobody will lose their jobs. We had to bend some people. We got them back on board by September. So it was a hard time indeed. But I think what helps is transparency. At the same time, your product, what you put into your food, that's what comes out. So although we have 450 stores, the manufacturing of them happened only in 9 locations in 9 states. And that 9 will now come down to 3. So basically, I think we've standardized things. We've got SOPs in place. What you put into the food, that's what comes out. The way you handle your supply chain, the way you handle your team, the way the momos are being prepared, it's all standardized. In a way, your entire backend is sorted to the extent that it is the same masala that is used nationally. It is the same oil, the same flour. The only thing which is locally dependent is the variable products like vegetables, which also has a standard quality to be maintained. So I think we are more of a manufacturing business centrally and a selling business decentrally, where we've scaled. And I think that's how QSR, the quick service restaurant business, works, where it's about supply chain, about logistics, about assembling. And that's how you can scale. So I think scale has too many answers to it. But personally, I feel it's a people's business. You cannot build a brand without people. Today, we are somewhere between micro and macro managed. There was a time when we were completely micromanaged. I'm sure there'll be a day when we'll be completely macro managed. But in this phase where we are, I think we are learning, we are reinventing. I think COVID was a major test to us. We had to reinvent ourselves. Before COVID, my delivery business was 20%. Today, it's 50%. So we had to become from omni-channel to multi-channel, and it's like, being agile. It tested our tenacity. So you have to be flexible. You have to reinvent. You have to find your way out. And, there will be challenges. You will have your back up against the wall, but you will have to somewhere find a way out. I mean, when I began Wow Momo, to be very honest, my dad, his friends, his relatives, they all said, "What are you doing? Tera beta Momo bechega," and that is how people used to talk. And my only say to them today is that, अगर हमारे देश में एक चाय वाला प्रधानमंत्री बन सकता है, तो एक मोमो वाला क्या कर सकता है, देखते हैं, भगवान की दया से. So I think it's a journey. You have to take your people along with you. You can't do anything alone. Today, Binod and me started it. I now have 2 more co-founders. I've given them equity, got them into the company. We have an ESOP pool. So you need to share well to make wealth. United, you stand. Divided, you fall. You can't just blame one person. It can't be a one-man show. Yes, there has to be a one guy driving it. Maybe in our case, I am the one who's driving it. But then the energies are synchronized to an extent where it has to be a team effort. And it's okay. I mean, in India, in entrepreneurship, somewhere we only celebrate success stories. But failures are also important. In a way, I would say failures are good. It teaches you so much. And we have seen our share of failures. We have, because we're talking about travails and triumph. There have been a lot of failures. There have been, you only hear the good things, but at the back end, we've seen our fair share of challenges. I mean, when I began Wow Momo, I would go to any mall developer. They would say, "Ki hum aapko jagah kyun de? We already have a Chinese guy selling momos." No one ever thought that momos can become big. then the same mall developers would not let me do my branding my way. They would allow KFC, McDonald's to do whatever they felt like because they were an international brand. So I was like, यार आप अपने local country को मतलब Indian origin brand को आप support नहीं करते हो, but बाहर के brand को आप सब देते हो. तो to change that mindset, to stand up against that mindset, no one could believe that we could sell 5 lakh momos in a day. Whether it was investors, whether had I mentioned about this say 7 years back, 10 years back, no one would have believed me, right? So I think you need to walk the talk. And as an entrepreneur, you don't need to follow the trend always. You need to also set the trend, which is very important.
Sure. You need to set the trend. That's interesting. From almost just a couple of momos to selling 5 lakh momos a day, you said?
Yeah.
Amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any queries, don't stop. Don't wait rather. And don't stop at it. Put your comments in the chat column. I'll take it as in with Nikam. Sagar has a lot to say, and I've got a lot of questions. But if you have any questions, just go ahead and put it. I want to ask quickly, just a quick response. You spoke about people, and it's amazing. I was simply amazed when I got to know that you're probably one of few companies who didn't lay off any person during the COVID. How did you manage?
So I think I'm very grateful to my investors. We had money in the bank by God's grace. We had reserves. We were profitable before COVID. So we had reserves. We had raised a round of funding in September 2019. So we had quite a lot of capital with us. And my investors were also supportive because I somewhere feel what you do as an organization today stands for time to come in future, right? And somewhere I felt that at that critical point, it was very important for us to stand up against our people. That's how you build loyalty. That's how you become a people's business. I was grateful. I was blessed that I had the funding money. I know many of my counterparts, many of my friends in the same industry who never had the funding and had to lay off. And I don't blame them at all because, it was about survival. Because if you don't survive, how will you revive? If you don't revive, how will you grow? So some way or the other, I think my investors are very supportive. And I think our mindset is that, we've always been a people's business. We think about our people, we care about our people, we try and do as much as we can. Yes, at times you are taken for granted. Aap ungli dete ho to log haath chhin lete hain. But I think you need to know where to draw the line. You need to be particular. And at the same time, I think communication is very important. And it has to be two-way communication. I mean, today, if I address my team once every month, we also have open houses where, they get to address the entire management. And I think a lot of focus on mental health. Personally, I feel, there's a new thing I've learned. Unfortunately, I lost one of my employees who committed suicide some days back. And it was very difficult because, we tried our best to do whatever we could, but, people do go through mental health issues. People do fall weak. And it's highly unfortunate. And we are very vocal about mental health, about anxiety, about depression. And it can be for any reason. It can be for personal reason. It can be for some mental issues. And as important as it is to not be physically okay, it is also important not to be mentally okay. So we say, it's okay not to be okay. Just be bold. And I think it's people like us, leaders like us, like Sir, you and me, who need to talk more about mental health, who need to come forward. I am very open to sharing about my anxiety issues. And it's okay. I'm human and we all are human. We all go through our dark phases and our good phases. And I think that's what life is all about, ups and downs. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about, ups and downs.
Sure. So speaking of downs, I think I have two questions already. I was about to ask you, but it's good. Ashutosh and Sumedha, they're asking you about challenges, two parts. One is your challenges in scaling up, it's different from the challenges in setting up.
Yeah.
What are the challenges you faced in growing and scaling up? Ashutosh is asking. And Sumedha's question is very specific. Challenges connected to food safety, two parts. So talk about the challenges.
Yeah. So challenges, I'll tell you what, see, it's even a day is too less to mention the challenges and write them down. Challenges have been numerous, but I'll tell you what, you have to keep reinventing yourself, like I said. So whatever we followed for one store was very different from 5 stores to 10 stores to 100 stores to 200 stores. We had to keep reinventing, keep building the team, keep building SOPs. The biggest challenge was, like I said, people could never believe that momos could sell. And I was amazed because if pizzas could sell by only selling, if Domino's could become a brand by only selling pizzas, why could Momo not become a brand with only Momos? And today, by God's grace, we have our second brand, which is Wow China, which sells Chinese cuisine. We launched our third brand, which is selling chicken, which is directly competing with KFC, and it's a product war, not a price war with KFC. So somewhere I feel that, being focused to one cuisine and building a brand out of it is very important. You need to find the cuisine gap. I think one thing we've realized over the years is that, it's very important to understand the cuisine gap. It's very important to understand what your consumer wants. I think that's the biggest challenge. And if you can overcome it, half your problem is solved. So some way or the other, people talk about market share. We talk about owning share of the stomach, So there's a major belly expansion happening in India. Today, Wow is our brand. Wow Momo is a vertical. Wow China is a vertical. Wow Chicken is a vertical. We want people to consume Wow as many times as they can in their week, in their day, in their month, in their year. And I think it's about owning share of the stomach, and we want to be that food multi-channel food powerhouse coming out of India and which can go global. If brands like Domino's and KFC can come from abroad to India, why can't we build an Indian brand that can go global? So that's the long-term vision. Challenges are numerous, from product acceptability to setting trends to imagine today I have 50 stores in Chennai. When I was going to Chennai, no one could believe that momos could sell in Chennai, right? All my investors would question me कि आपका मोमो बंगाल में बिक जाएगा, दिल्ली में बिक जाएगा, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में बिक जाएगा, but आप बॉम्बे में कैसे बेचोगे, आप चेन्नई में कैसे बेचोगे? Today, one of my most profitable markets is South India. I am doing so well in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, in Chennai, in Cochin, in Trivandrum. So I think it's about setting trends. Your biggest challenge is to set the trend. So you have to build the product and the brand around it, and you have to be that trendsetter. I think biggest challenge is changing people's notions and mindsets. And how you build a brand is by creating that impression. So, I was not a brand from USA that I'll open my first store and there'll be a 1 kilometer queue outside my store, like what happened with McDonald's and KFC when they launched in India. So I had to keep my stores bright yellow. I had to, literally focus on the look and feel, on the way my staff talks to my customer, the smile on their face, the t-shirt that they wear, the packaging. I think everything that you do as an entrepreneur to build your brand, it creates an impression in the mind of the consumer. And creating that impression in the mind of the consumer is how brand building happened. And that's very important. So I would say the biggest challenge was, changing people's notion, perception. And you can only do that if you believe in what you're doing. And somewhere I think we believed in what we were doing. We believed we could do it. We could visualize Wow Momo in the best mall of Calcutta when I began in Calcutta, then in the best mall of India. And, you visualize, you create, you work towards that goal. See, problem is if you don't know where you want to reach, you will never reach. So I think it's very important to know where you want to reach, where you want to get to. And then, you transform your entire energy, your entire focus on getting there. I think what I see from many entrepreneurs today is that they all are chasing, they want to do too many things at one point of time, which is not important. You have to give importance to time. You have to give relevance to time, effort, energy, and you have to give relevance to focus. And at the same time, you need to build a strong business with a strong foundation. You just can't keep chasing valuations. Today when I began Wow Momo, there was nothing known as Startup India, Stand Up India. This was 2008. It was only entrepreneurship. The word startup was not a very famous word. Today, raising funding has become something very sexy. It's like fundraise karna. But I personally believe that yes, funding is very important, but do it at the right time when you're prepared to do it. And as an entrepreneur, the biggest quality you should have is to say no, and say no with confidence. So today, the Indian Angel Network had approached me in 2011 and I was not funding ready. So my co-founder and me, we decided that we are not funding ready. We were very grateful to them, but we had to say a no. And by God's grace, that same Angel Network came back in 2015 and gave us a 100 crore valuation. We could raise 10 crores from them. And I'm so grateful to them. But the art of saying no, which investor you want, which you don't want, they might feel bad, but you're not obligated. At the same time, it's about saying a no at work, saying a no at other places in life, the art of saying no with confidence. I think many entrepreneurs don't have that, but you really need to believe in the vision of you and do what's good for business. You have to do what's good for business because ultimately your decisions are responsible for several lives. Like today, if I have 4,000 employees, each one has 4 people in their family, in a way, my decisions are impacting 15,000 lives. And I feel blessed that God has given you the responsibility, and with responsibility comes power, and with power comes more responsibility, and you cannot abuse it. So I think it's very important to draw the line. It's very important as an entrepreneur to believe in what you say and have that commanding sense of being a doer and doing it for the business.
Fantastic. This is what story legends are made of. You say no to Indian Angel Network, and I still remember reading about it. I said, who's this courageous guy who's saying no? And then, of course, you went back and did that. So we have a couple of questions surrounding funding. So let me switch gear. And you also mentioned IAN. If you can quickly respond to some of them. I also have one or two questions connected to funding. So Kalyan Day was asking, what was the seed money you raised to start your business?
So basically, Kalyanji, what we did is that I borrowed around 30 to 50,000 rupees from my dad overall when I began this venture. And then from one store to 43 stores, we had no equity funding. We had a small debt funding of around 75 lakh rupees, which was in the form of CC and the CGTMS scheme. And we just plowed back profits. So my biggest investor was my customer. हमने 2 stores से पैसे बचाए, हमने 4 खोले, 4 से बचाए, 6 खोले. So when your customer becomes your biggest investor, when your business starts throwing back cash, and when you are able to handle, when you're able to do your jugaad and scale up fast by saving money and growing, I think it gives you a very different kick, a very different strength. So I think I would say my biggest investor was my customer. And then obviously, in 2015, I happened to meet Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who is my mentor, who was my lead investor with IAN. He's known as the Zomato guy. I'm sure very soon he'll be known as the Momo guy also, because he wrote my first check. But yeah, I think Sanjeev and the other angels, Mr. Sanjay Mehta, who's I'm sure a part of the 100 VC, he was one of my angel investors, and many such wonderful people whom I've interacted with, who backed me then. And there was no looking back, there was raising money. And again, why do you raise money? You raise money to grow, right? So using the money for growth, not using the money to build a fancy office, not using the money to, first priority was on scaling the business on the front end. Make your front end strong, and the back end will automatically happen. So I feel many people, I somewhere feel that, you should do the right thing at the right time, and you have to prioritize things. I think many entrepreneurs do not prioritize things. Some people focus too much on systems. But today, if you don't have volumes, what is the system of use of? So I believe first get those volumes, then make those systems, and then get your unit economics correct. So you need volumes to make systems, and your systems for 10 stores will be very different from 50 to 100, right? So keep reinventing. You need to get into the detail. You need to go down deep, but go down deep at the right time. You need to have a right mix of deep and wide, the right mix of micro and macro managed. Too much focus on the back end with no focus on front end is of no use. Too much focus on front end and no focus on back end is of no use. So you need to have that right balance, and balance is very important. So yeah, that was the seed funding I took. That is where we are today. And then Lighthouse Funds came in 2017. They also Bombay based. Then we had Tiger Global, who backed us in 2019. And that was a big disruption, because everyone would feel that Tiger Global, they only back tech businesses. We were not a tech business then, but today, yes, I feel we are the real food tech business, because selling food online is not e-commerce. Not food tech for me, that's e-commerce. Today, we have taken the Momo shelf life from 2 days to 1 year. We are talking about building a Momo vending machine, which will be there in your office. You can press a button and you get hot momos coming out. We are talking about robotics in our manufacturing. We're talking about robotic fryers to fry the momos in your store. We're talking about robotic steamers. So for me, that would be food tech. That's the real food tech, where you use technology to enable your operations and your scalability to move faster. So right thing at the right time is very important.
Sure. So Suraj Rajan is asking, you've done various rounds of funding. What is your most memorable story or lesson in fundraising? And that brings me to my question, which I wanted to ask. I'm going to tag it with this. Is, you mentioned about IAN. Do VCs add value? Have they added value? Investors added value to your business? And how we have read about how you managed to keep your equity intact, you and your founders. So all this coupled together, your most memorable story, value addition of VCs, investors. So all in all, just a quick response. There are tons of questions, and I'm not going to hold you back for next hour. We have just 10 minutes left.
Yeah. So basically, I'll tell you, there are a couple of them rather, and I really want to share this. So firstly, definitely is my first angel round with Sanjeev. So, This was 2015, and I knew a couple of investors were coming for Taikon Calcutta, and I said by that time I think we had become the startup face from Calcutta, and so the Thai Calcutta, I'm very grateful to Thai because Thai has really helped me to go a long way. They asked me to put up, do some sponsorship. I said, okay, I will give you a sponsorship, but I want to put up a stall. Because I knew investors were coming. I said, let them eat my product, because the biggest way to know a food business is taste the product. People talk about information memorandum. For me, my IM is my product. Aap mera product kha ke dekho. So I put up a stall, and this was in Hyatt in Calcutta. And, I was amazed that people were not eating lunch buffet in Hyatt, but were sampling my momos, because it was free sampling of momos. And I think Sanjeev saw that. He saw the crowd around my store. Then when he went up to stage on speak, people took our example. Then he came down, we exchanged cards, and that very evening I met him for dinner, and we just clicked. And I'm blessed because I think that was more like a dream come true, because to get someone like Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who's been there, done that, amazing entrepreneur, seen failures, seen successes, believes in equity, believes in ESOPs to your people. He's a legend, right? So to get someone like him and that entire day with him, I think was very memorable. So was my funding with Tiger Global, which happened in a 15 minutes call with Scott. So imagine I had exactly 12 minutes to pitch my entire business that I had built in which I had built in 11 years around then. In the 13th minute, we virtually shook hands, and we had money in the bank 7 days from then. So I think it's more like an elevator pitch. I think that's one of very memorable journeys, because, very rarely do you get to meet someone like Scott, who heads Tiger Global, who likes your business, and you have to convince him to put money in your business in like 12 short minutes. I think we are QSR, quick service, so everything has been very quick for us by God's grace. But these two stories are very important and very, very close to my heart.
Great. So let me switch gears again and talk about slightly different issues. People are reading in the papers, winter is here for VC funding. And VCs have become cautious funding. Is that true, or is it just Western world?
No, I think it's very true. We are just about to raise our Series D now, and we've signed a few term sheets with a few investors. But in today's day and age, you don't know which investor will come in, not come in. Yes, we have our preferences, and good businesses will always get money. It's just that the valuation gets impacted. So for good businesses, you will always get money. Valuation might not be as good as it could have been in normal time or good times. Yes, as an entrepreneur, at times I feel demotivated that there are some businesses that have really gone up, raised money, and have completely got wiped off now. And strong businesses, which have built consumer businesses, are in a way having to bear a bit of a brunt for it, because, when you have a solid business, but you still have that challenge in valuation, you don't get valued as the other guy does. Although, the other guy is burning tons and tons of money, but you're not burning, you're earning money. So at times as an entrepreneur, it makes you feel that if you want more funding, you should be a loss-making business, because profitable businesses don't get money. But I think that's a myth. It's going to change. I think good businesses will always get money. And I'm an Indian. I'm a Bania. I'm a Sindhi at heart. I feel money has to make money. You cannot be red in business for long. You have to be in green. Yes, red for the short run for growth is okay. It's good, but you have to have path to profitability, which is very important. In a way, I think this is a good thing for the industry that, people have started valuing profitability, and that's what public markets do. Public markets don't look at the story, they look at the numbers, and numbers gives you a real clear picture, right? So somewhere I feel, yes, there is a winter with startup funding. VCs have become cautious, and I don't blame them because of the way the market sentiments are globally, with inflation, with the war. These are tough times, and we've come out of we are still in the middle of a war, which is COVID. It's not completely gone, and we have another war that has come in. Look at the way prices of oil have gone up in India. We consume a lot of oil, edible oil. Look at the way prices of raw materials like non-veg, veg have gone up like crazy. So inflation is very, very bad. I think this is the worst inflation I have seen in my 14 years of business. So times are tough. So be very cautious about the money that you're getting, you're spending, and if you need to raise it as soon as you can. That's the advice I would give. But yeah, today, no signed term sheet, no signed contract matters. What matters is money in the bank. So if someone has put in money in your bank, that is important, and you should try and move towards money in the bank. And if you feel you're not getting the right valuation and you still have money to pull through on your own, if you feel, you should wait. But at the moment, I think don't think too much about valuation, a little bit here and there, but focus more on getting money in the bank, because you rather focus on your next 2 years of growth and have capital in the bank. I mean, with what happened with COVID, if I never had funding, I would have not been able to keep my people. And you never know how the next 2 years are going to be. So my advice to all of them out there is that if you are getting the money, please take it. Don't say a no. Not the time to say a no, even if you get at a lower valuation. Yes, don't undervalue yourself, but if you're a good business, you will always get money. But now is the time to, protect yourself, protect your business, protect your company. Times are tough.
So let me, I have last 2 odd questions, and if you could quickly respond. Some issues have recently come up in other startups on corporate governance, and that is now taking, obviously these are very, very few startups, not as if it's a widespread problem, but unfortunately you got a lot of focus there. What is your advice to startups? You are probably, you're a Sunicon, so you have kind of gone way ahead. But people who start up, what are the frameworks you should put? It's a fairly deep question, but a quick answer, so that they don't fall in this trap of a hurdle of corporate governance when they grow.
See, I personally feel in a very initial stage of business, you will not be able to have all your compliances in place. It's a very natural thing. And in our country, compliance बहुत ज़्यादा है. Right? And there is no single licensing window. If I have to open one restaurant, I require 12 licenses. अब मैं licenses बनाऊं कि मैं अपना धंधा चलाऊं, right? So to believe that a startup would have all compliance in place is a very wrong notion. And investors have to understand that and move with it and work with the startup to build those compliances. So I personally feel that you will not get a good growing decent startup with all compliances in place in the very beginning. But yes, as you grow, as your funding money comes in and you have the cushion of funding money come in, you have to start working on your compliances. You have to, hire a company secretary, have a legal guy to take care of your compliances, hire consultants if you can't, get them on your payroll with retainership. But it's very important because see, it's much easier to, start from scratch and work out the mess rather than, build a lot of mess and then clean that up and then, start making compliance, because jitna aap effort usme daloge, it's going to just take in your time, energy, effort more. So my advice would be, if you are not 100% compliant, it's okay. Be at least 70% compliant in the beginning, but in the short run for a very limited time. But as you start scaling, start investing in your compliance, because that's very important. Corporate governance is very, very important. I mean, today, if you cannot benefit alone, you need to share well to make well. Like I said, I mean, today, you see founders who are running 3-4 companies and all are unicorns, right? It's okay, but then, your investors backing you for a particular business, right? So today, if you also want to run 3-4 companies, you first build one solid company. And if you want to do another thing, you take all your shareholders along with you, because they backed you to get here, not just you. So I'm someone who firmly believes that, people have backed you and your business, but they have put money in you. So you can't let them down. So corporate governance in that way is very, very important. And in India, I think it gets very badly abused. Why only India? I think globally it gets very badly. It would be wrong of me to say that India mein hota hai. I think globally it's quite badly abused. I think people become very selfish, but they don't understand that, it's like, whether you want 10% of rupees 100 or you want 1% of a decacorn, what is more important, right? So I think it's not about how much of the pie you owe, but how big the pie is. So don't worry too much on dilution. At the same time, don't dilute too much that you don't have your skin in the game. I think what founders do is that they keep raising and keep burning and keep raising, and then in the end they feel that they're not motivated enough. Sure. So try and have a nice balance, a nice mix, because you also want to be motivated. You are doing this business for yourself and for your team, not just for your landlords or for your investors or for your vendors, right? You're doing it for everyone, right? So keep that in mind.
Sure. So I want to get you, before I let you go, about branding. You followed a unique model of everything under wow. We have seen other food companies have different brand names. What is the logic? Why do you do that?
See, I feel the brand WOW has been built with a lot of goodwill and trust. I mean, today WOW has become a household name across the 20 cities that we operate. And I think it's about encashing that goodwill. Today, the minute you, and what you make has to actually be wow. So today, the name we called it wow is that humko laga ki koi hamara momo khayega, he should say wow, maza aa gaya khake. So today, when we are doing chicken, it's wow chicken, or a Chinese, it's wow China, because we feel that the guy should say, he should feel wow, having it. So we will not name anything and everything wow. We are very clear. Wow for us stands for tasty, healthy, and affordable food. As long as we can meet these 3 parameters. So I'll tell you what, wow Momo, if you just look at it normally, it's like a label. if I have to make a brand has to have a purpose to it. In our case, the purpose was change, and why I say change is when we started Wow Momo, there was a change in perception that I had to bring about people. Change in perception that a homegrown brand can grow, that momos can sell. Then there was a change in the entire perception of pehle log bolte the ki bahar khana mat khao, ghar ka khana khao. That whole perception ki bahar ka khana bhi healthy or affordable ho sakta hai. Like today when we are doing Wow Chicken, it has no preservative, it has no MSG. Our sauces have no MSG. So imagine the way you are transforming food. And today we are young guys, we are 34, 35. We are the power of youth. And like Gandhiji said, be the change you want to see. So today, if we are health conscious, and after COVID, the health consciousness has even gone up more, right? So our industry is about health, hygiene, happiness. I call it Triple H. So if that Triple H has to click, you have to be that change maker. And today as a country, what is selling is perception of health. Even now, health is not selling in India. Perception of health is selling. But we are all moving towards health selling in India. And there will be that day and age coming very soon where you will see brands that are giving you healthy, affordable cuisines, being overpowering brands that are not healthy. So I think health is going to be a big, big part of it. And that's why we named our brand Wow Chicken and not Wow Fried Chicken, because we did not want to sell only fried product. We said we will have grilled stuff, we will have baked stuff. So I think that's how you position yourself in your consumer's shoes and what your consumers would be 10 years from now. And that's how you position your brand. Okay,
great. So would you like to, as a last question, give advice to budding startup entrepreneurs? Assume I am in college somewhere. I'm not, but assume I'm in college or some of the viewers are. Give 1 or 2 words of advice. Startup, job, and if startup, what to do, how to think about it.
So if you're in college and you want to do a business and you're sure you want to do a business, I feel you should jump into it immediately. Or maybe work somewhere only for a year to learn that, but jump into it immediately, because till when you're in college, like today, when I was in college and I jumped into entrepreneurship, I had no fear of failure.
Correct.
But when you get into a nice, highly paid job, your lifestyle changes. Many people are scared to leave that job and get into the risk of entrepreneurship. And then you get into a cushion. And then you want to be an entrepreneur, but because you are so handsomely paid that you end up not being an entrepreneur, but you end up being an entrepreneur where you're also helping to build another organization, but you're not being the change maker yourself, right? So my advice would be, if you really want to get into entrepreneurship, and like Sir, you said, if you're in college, I think you should immediately get into the kind of job or industry for 6 months or 1 year, get some training, understanding, and then just jump into it without thinking twice. Because the minute you get into the corporate world and you get the perquisites of a corporate world and you start flying business class and you start doing other stuff, I have a lot of respect for people who've given up highly paid jobs. And I know so many of them and gone to entrepreneurship. You require guts, you require steel to do that. And not many of, maybe I would have not had that much steel. I've seen people who've, left jobs that would pay them, almost a couple of crores per annum package, and they've left that and gone into entrepreneurship, So mere mein utna steel nahi hota shayad. I feel enter into a space where there's no failure or fear. When the mind is without fear, the head is held high, you think better. So that's my advice to startup, that if you're sure you want to do entrepreneurship, jump into it quick. And the other thing is age, age is a number. I personally feel the sooner the better, because if you're building your own business, you get more time to give into that business, right? Some people say, yaar, main abhi nahi karega, main 5 saal baad karega, 10 saal baad karega. I don't get the logic. If you want to do it now. Don't want to do it, don't do it at all. But, there should be no gray area. It should be the black or white. And somewhere I feel that, age is, like I said, age is a number. I have seen people who've given up at the age of 40 and jumped into it. Yes, I think the biggest mistake we all make is that with our idea, we become very emotional. I think we need to be very practical, because an idea never sells. The ideation sells, the execution sells. Today, you might have 100 ideas, but if you're not able to execute it, or if it's not practical, it will never make money. And if it will not make money, you will sink. So I'll give you a small example. The Indian Cricket League was an idea, but the real ideation was IPL, which was innovation, right? So, you need to have that right idea and right execution and the right muscle power to do it. And the right time, today at the age of 40, if you're giving up your job and you're doing a business, you should have the funding and the capital for it, not just give up your job and then not have funding also and not have money also, and then your entire family life gets turned around. I've heard of people having divorces because, they were living a very cushion life and suddenly the guy gave up his job and could not even run his business and had a divorce. So I think be more practical. We become very close to our idea. Listen to other people. देखो, आप सबकी सुनो, but करना अपने दिल की. But सुनो सबकी. क्या पता कौन सा बात कब लग जाए दिमाग में और आपको लगे कि नहीं ये बंदा सही बोल रहा है. Listen to everyone, but follow your heart. But yeah, listen to everyone. So, listen to everyone because you never know. Today, my investors, you asked me one question I could not answer. Do VCs add value? I believe they add a lot of value because, see, you are like a horse. They are giving you an optical view from top, So sometimes they say certain things which really might not sound good then. They're like a strict teacher at times whom you hate, but then they end up teaching you a lot in life.
Sure. Good, as strict teacher in there, but they end up helping you a lot. I'm in the VC world, so thank you for those last words. Delightful. And of course, your advice to entrepreneurs, just jump. I'm going to ask just 8-10 rapid fire questions. This you have to respond within 2 seconds of what I ask. These are easy. Please take my calls after this. So people generally get,
definitely would love to.
But they're simple questions. This has to be by your heart, as you said. Quick, rapid.
Absolutely.
Entrepreneurs are born or made?
I think made.
Made. Leadership is influence or authority?
I think it's a mix of both.
So that is not allowed. Huh? So you have to always choose. So
I would think influence.
Influence, yeah. Customers first or employee first?
Employee first. Happy employees employ happy customers. Ensure happy customers.
Okay, employees first. Mercenary or missionary?
I think missionary.
Missionary.
Yeah.
Branding or community building?
I think branding, because community building becomes a very strong part of branding.
Value or valuation?
Value, because value will always chase valuation in future.
Love your product or love your customer?
I think love your product because you make that product for your customer. Love it so much that customers ko bhi pyar ho jaye usse.
And next life, if you have an option between these two careers, VC or a startup founder?
Startup founder, anytime.
So startup founder, not a VC like me. Good, good choice. And the last two, Friday evening or Monday morning?
Being honest, at the moment, Friday evening, because it gets very hectic.
Sure.
At the moment, Friday evening. Yeah.
At the moment, Friday. And the last one, if you had a choice tomorrow morning for breakfast to meet one of these two people, whom would you meet? Jeff Bezos or Anand Mahindra?
Anand Mahindra. I think
Anand Mahindra for breakfast.
He believes in the Make in India story. And I'm actually, to be very honest, I'm actually trying to get a connect to him. I have not reached out to people, but I will. I believe he believes in the Make in India story. And I think Make in India hai, what he's achieved, what he's done, and the way he tweets, I'm a big fan of what he's doing.
Great. So let's hope we can meet him soon over breakfast. Thank you. Thank you, Sagar.
Thank you, sir. Loved it.
40 minutes chat. I enjoyed every moment. In fact, I had at least 5 more questions to ask, but hopefully when we meet personally, we'll have those questions. There are still a couple of unanswered questions, but we'll figure out how to.
So you guys can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and I will try my best to be in touch. Not possible to reply to everyone all the time, but yeah, definitely would try my best to be in touch. I'm there I'm there in Bombay on the 10th for one of the events, which is I think Tycoon. So yeah, if anyone would want, I'll be there. Yeah.
Sure. So all the very best on your journey to become a unicorn, and of course to your IPO. We hope to have you soon again. Very soon.
Definitely.
Unicorn and IPO put together. May the force be with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for
keep eating the momos and the Chinese and the chicken.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.